Well, it looks like 2020 is starting off on the right foot, so stick around while we get you the info you need to know. Okay, let's cut straight to the good stuff. January saw a total of 863 sales this year, a nearly 8% jump over last year's levels, which, while on the surface is great, and good news is always welcome here on our market updates, but it is worth noting that the 8% jump really only brought us back in line with the averages we've seen over the last 5 years or so. So it's not like we're breaking records here. And as we've discussed before, 2019 had a rough start, so it's at least nice to see a return to our new normal. But hey, as I like to say, a win's a win. Fortunately, this increase in sales is up almost across the board, with jumps in the sub 500 market, in the 500 to the 1 million category also seeing big jumps, and even the $1 million and up market came in with a tie of 28 units sold both this year and last. Now, unfortunately, the increase in sales still wasn't enough to halt the drop in prices, with the citywide unadjusted benchmark slipping ever so slightly to just a hair over 417,000. This is slightly lower than last month's, and nearly a 1% lower than last year's levels. Now, let's quickly break down what's happening with the different product types. Starting off with detached homes, we saw sales growth almost across the board here in Calgary, with the one exception being the Northeast District. And even with the Northeast slowdown, we ended up netting a 6% increase in the number of sales. On top of that, we saw fewer new listings this January, which helped lower inventories by 15%, which of course helps to combat future price declines. And when we look at pricing, most of the city saw a fairly nominal decline, with exception to, sadly, the city center and west districts, which lost an average of over 3% on the value of your home. The attached market continues to shine. Despite slower sales in the south and southeast districts, citywide attached sales improved by 4%. Now, it's worth noting here that new home pre-sales are not factored into these numbers, so it's entirely possible the slowdowns we saw in the south and southeast districts was actually a trend towards some of the new home options in the areas there, but it's impossible to know for sure. Keeping with the good news trend here, we also saw inventories drop by a full 10%, thanks in part to fewer new listings. While we still haven't made it quite over that hump where prices are flat or increasing, we're at least certainly seeing some good signs here. Looking at the apartment sector, we find that improving sales trends we've been seeing as of late were unfortunately met with a whole bunch of new listings, causing inventories to jump by 12% compared to last year. This means our trend of increased sales was actually essentially countered by a rush of new listings, which means we're still sitting around 9 months of inventory. Now, this is great news for buyers and investors. However, for the sellers hoping to jump on the increased sales bandwagon, it looks like too many people had the same idea at the same time, resulting in about a 2% drop compared to this time last year. Now, let's check out the numbers. So, what's the bottom line? Overall here in Calgary, we have some good looking signs to start the year off, and that's awesome. Despite some pullbacks in the apartment sector, we're overall seeing the right trends, and I'm cautiously optimistic in the estate market after seeing no further drops in the number of sales. Obviously, up is always better, but not seeing it drop further is at least worth a smile. Well, that's the end of our market update for February 2020. My name is Michael Smith. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always make sure to have somebody looking out for your best interests.